Imagine getting the call on a Tuesday afternoon your uncle passed away, and buried in the paperwork is a deed to a car wash off the state highway, the one with the giant spinning brush sign you used to point at as a kid. In your head, it's already generating money while you sleep. Cars roll through, quarters and credit cards, a tunnel full of foam and rainbow light, and somewhere, a machine is quietly printing cash. You picture yourself driving past it in a year, nodding at your investment like a landlord in a movie, collecting checks from a business that runs itself. Here's the reversal. A car wash doesn't run itself. It runs on water, electricity, chemicals, and equipment that breaks down on a schedule you don't control, and the version of the business you inherited isn't the shiny one from the sign. It's whatever your uncle actually left running. And until you open the utility bills, you don't know if you inherited a cash machine or a very expensive hose. So let's look at what you actually receive. A typical single-bay tunnel car wash sits on land worth $600,000 to $1.5 million depending on location, with the tunnel equipment itself worth another $300,000 to $800,000 if it's modern. But equipment depreciates fast in this business. Conveyor belts, blowers, and wash arches have a working life of 10 to 15 years before major components need replacing. And if your uncle bought this place used or let maintenance slide, you could be looking at $50,000 to $150,000 in deferred repairs before you've made a single dollar. On top of that, most car washes carry equipment financing or a mortgage. It's common to inherit a business that's still carrying $200,000 or more in debt against machinery that's already halfway through its useful life. Then there's the paperwork you didn't know came with the property. Car washes typically hold a stormwater discharge permit, sometimes a separate wastewater pretreatment permit if the wash reclaims and recycles its water, and a handful of local licenses tied to the specific address, not to your uncle personally. Some of those permits transfer automatically with the deed. Others require you to reapply as the new owner within a set window, and missing that window can mean an inspector shutting down the tunnel until you're compliant. You also inherit whatever vendor contracts were already signed: the chemical supplier, the credit card processor, sometimes an equipment lease with years still on it. And those contracts don't care that the person who signed them is gone. You're bound to the terms until they expire, or you renegotiate them yourself. Not every car wash is the same business, and this matters more than people think. There are three real tiers. First, the self-serve bay. You feed quarters into a wand, low overhead, almost no labor, but revenue per car is small and you're competing with every gas station that adds a wand out back. Second, the exterior tunnel wash. The express model, cars roll through a conveyor in 3 to 5 minutes, high volume, and this is where the industry's growth has actually happened. Third, the full-service wash tunnel, plus hand dry, interior vacuum, detailing staff, higher ticket price. But now you're running a labor-heavy operation, with all the scheduling and turnover headaches that come with employing 10 to 20 people. Your inherited car wash falls into one of these three, and the tier determines almost everything else about the economics: how many employees you need, how much water you use, and how exposed you are to competition. It also determines how fast you can pivot if things go wrong. A self-serve bay can sit half empty for months without bleeding cash the way a fully staffed full-service location does, which means the safer tier on paper is often the one with the lowest ceiling, and the higher ceiling tier is the one that punishes hesitation the most. Now, the hidden costs nobody warns you about. Water and sewer bills for a tunnel wash can run $3,000 to $8,000 a month depending on your city's rates. And some municipalities charge car washes a premium sewer rate because of the runoff. Chemical costs, soap, wax, tire shine, the works add another few thousand a month and fluctuate with fuel-based pricing since many of these chemicals are petroleum derivatives. Then there's the equipment service contract, which most owners don't realize is nearly mandatory. Tunnel equipment is specialized enough that when something breaks, you often need the manufacturer's technician, and a single service call can run $2,000 to $5,000 before parts. And if your uncle's wash sits on a well or septic system instead of municipal hookups, you may be looking at a permitting nightmare if the county decides your water usage needs re-review. Car washes are one of the few small businesses that regularly get environmental compliance visits. There's also a staffing cost that's easy to underestimate if you've only ever seen the wash from the driver's seat. Even an express exterior tunnel that markets itself as no touch usually needs 2 to 4 employees on site during operating hours. Someone greeting cars and running the pay terminal, someone monitoring the tunnel for jams, someone handling the vacuum area. Turnover in these entry-level roles is high, often 60 to 100% a year industry-wide, which means you're not just paying wages, you're constantly retraining. If your uncle ran this place personally, working the front register or fixing minor equipment issues himself, part of what you inherited was his unpaid labor. And replacing that with an actual employee is its own hidden line item you won't see until the first payroll cycle. Let's talk about where the money actually comes from, because it's rarely just the wash itself. The base wash tunnel is the anchor, typically bringing in $8 to $25 per car, depending on the tier package. But the real profit engine for modern car washes is the unlimited membership model. Customers pay $25 to $40 a month for unlimited washes, and because most members only come once or twice a month, the math works heavily in the owner's favor. A wash with 1,500 members at $30 a month is $45,000 in recurring monthly revenue, before a single drive-up customer even shows up. Layer on top of that, vending and vacuum stations that can add $1,000 to $3,000 a month in pure quarters and cards income, air freshener and detail product upsells at the pay station, and in some locations, a small retail counter selling snacks and drinks to people waiting in line. Each layer sounds small, but a well-run wash can pull 30 to 40% of its total revenue from something other than the wash itself. To understand why this business can work, look at Mr. Car Wash, the largest express tunnel operator in the country, which has spent the last decade proving that the subscription model can scale into a real chain. The company has built its entire growth story around converting one-time customers into monthly unlimited members, because recurring revenue is what makes a car wash bankable to investors in the first place. That single strategic shift from paper wash to subscription is the reason private equity started buying up small independent washes across the country over the last 10 years, consolidating a business that used to be a mom-and-pop operation into a genuine investable asset class. But here's the case study that shows how it goes wrong. In the mid-2000s, a family-owned exterior tunnel wash in the Midwest opened strong, riding the first wave of the unlimited membership trend before most competitors had caught on, growing to over 2,000 members within its first 3 years. Business was good enough that the owners expanded, taking on debt to build a second tunnel bay to handle demand. Then two things happened at once. A national chain opened a location 4 miles away, with a lower membership price and a flashier facility, and the original tunnel equipment, now nearing the end of its 12-year lifespan, started needing expensive repairs almost monthly. Membership pricing pressure from the new competitor meant the family couldn't raise prices to cover the repair costs, so they absorbed them, eating into margins that had once been comfortable. Members who canceled during a temporary equipment shutdown often didn't come back once the tunnel reopened, having already switched their habit to the new chain's location during the downtime, and win-back offers barely dented the loss. Within 5 years, the second bay they'd financed was running at a loss, dragging down a first bay that used to be profitable on its own, and the family eventually sold the entire property to the same regional chain that had undercut them, for barely enough to cover the outstanding equipment debt. That story isn't a freak accident. It's the macro trend playing out at the ground level. The car wash industry has been consolidating fast, with private equity and regional chains buying up independent locations and using their scale to offer lower membership prices, newer equipment, and marketing budgets that a single location owner simply can't match. Independent operators aren't just competing with the wash down the street anymore. They're competing with chains that can absorb a bad year in one location because they have 40 others propping up the balance sheet. Some of these roll-up companies are explicitly buying land in growth corridors years before a location even opens, treating the real estate itself as part of the return, not just the washes running on it. If you inherit a standalone car wash today, you're not just running a business, you're deciding whether to compete against consolidation or eventually become part of it. So here's the real choice in front of you. Best case, you inherit a wash with modern tunnel equipment, an existing membership base, and no looming competitor nearby. In that scenario, a well-run single location can clear $150,000 to $300,000 a year in owner profit, and you've got a genuinely valuable, sellable asset that a regional chain might even want to buy from you on your terms instead of theirs. Worst case, aging equipment nearing failure, high water and chemical costs eating your margin, and a national chain either already down the street or about to be. In that scenario, you're not running a car wash. You're running a countdown clock on how long you can hold out before selling at a discount to the very competitor squeezing you. The gap between those two outcomes usually comes down to two things you can actually check before you decide anything: how old the tunnel equipment really is, and how many serious competitors sit within a 5-mile radius. Either way, remember this: your uncle didn't leave you a business, he left you a decision about whether water, quarters, and rainbow foam are worth betting your money on. And the sign out front spinning in the wind has no idea which way you're going to choose.